Imagine waking up one day to find that the person you've been emotionally tethered to has vanished without a trace. Your heart races, your mind spirals, and suddenly you're drowning in a sea of unbearable emotions. This scenario isn't just a nightmare. It's a reality many of us face when we become overly attached to someone. But what if I told you there's a way to navigate these turbulent waters with grace and inner peace? Welcome to the world of Stoicism, where emotional detachment isn't about becoming cold or unfeeling, but about cultivating a resilient mind that can weather any storm. In this deep dive into the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy, we'll uncover 10 powerful rules that can help you master the art of emotional detachment. These aren't just abstract concepts, they're practical tools that have stood the test of time, from the bustling streets of ancient Rome to the digital age of the 21st century. Whether you're dealing with a toxic relationship, unrequited love, or simply want to build stronger emotional boundaries, these Stoic principles will equip you with the mental fortitude to face life's challenges head-on. Before we embark on this transformative journey, if you find value in what you're about to learn, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your engagement helps us reach more people who might benefit from these timeless teachings. Rule 1. Accept what you cannot change. Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a cliff, wind whipping through your hair as you gaze out at the vast ocean before you. You can control your footing, your breathing, even your decision to stay or step back. But can you control the waves crashing against the rocks below? The answer is a resounding no. This, my friends, is the essence of the Stoic principle known as the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a towering figure in Stoic philosophy, once said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us." It's a simple statement, yet it holds the key to unlocking emotional freedom. The dichotomy of control teaches us to distinguish between what we can influence and what lies beyond our power. Our thoughts, judgments, and actions. Those are firmly within our grasp. But the thoughts and actions of others, external events, or the ultimate outcomes of our efforts, those are outside our control. When it comes to relationships and emotional attachments, this principle is a game changer. We often torment ourselves trying to control how others feel about us, desperate to make them stay or change. But here's the liberating truth. We can't. What we can control is our response to their actions, our own behavior, and the decision to remain emotionally invested or to detach. By focusing our energy on what's within our power, we reclaim our peace of mind and build resilience against life's inevitable disappointments. Let's dive into the deep end of our emotional pool. You know that rush you feel when your phone lights up with a message from that special someone? Or the pit in your stomach when they don't reply for hours? These are the telltale signs of emotional attachment, and they're as common as they are powerful. But here's the kicker. Recognizing these attachments is the first step towards mastering them. Think of emotional attachments as invisible strings tying your happiness to external factors. These strings can be to people, sure, but also to outcomes, possessions, or even ideas. The Stoics understood that these attachments, while natural, often lead to suffering. Why? Because they place our well-being in the hands of things we can't control. It's like building your house on quicksand. Looks stable at first, but one shift and you're sinking. So how do we spot these attachments? Start by paying attention to your emotional highs and lows. Are they tied to someone else's actions or words? Do you find yourself constantly checking your phone or basing your mood on another person's behavior? These are red flags waving in the wind of attachment. The goal isn't to eliminate these feelings, That's neither possible nor desirable. Instead, it's about recognizing them for what they are, temporary states that don't define you. By acknowledging our attachments, we take the first crucial step towards emotional freedom. All right, let's roll up our sleeves and get practical. I'm about to introduce you to a powerful tool that'll revolutionize how you approach emotional attachments. It's called the Control Inventory, and it's as simple as it is effective. Grab a pen and paper, because we're about to map out your emotional landscape. Here's how it works. Draw 2 columns on your paper. Label one within my control and the other outside my control. Now, think about your current emotional attachments or a specific relationship that's been on your mind. Start listing aspects of this situation in either column. Your own thoughts and actions, that goes in the within my control column, their feelings or decisions, straight into outside my control. As you fill out this inventory, you might be surprised, even shocked, by how many items end up in the outside my control column. That's normal. Most of us overestimate our sphere of influence, especially when it comes to relationships. But here's where the magic happens. Once you see it laid out in black and white, you can start redirecting your energy. Focus on that within my control column. These are your leverage points, your areas of potential growth and change. By consistently practicing this exercise, you'll train your mind to automatically distinguish between what you can and can't control, paving the way for emotional detachment and true Stoic resilience. Rule 2. Understand your feelings. Contrary to popular belief, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or turning yourself into a walking, talking robot. Nope, that's not the game we're playing here. Instead, think of the Stoic approach to emotions as a kind of emotional aikido, a way to harmonize with your feelings rather than fighting against them. It's about understanding the nature of emotions and learning to navigate them with wisdom and grace. The Stoics viewed emotions not as enemies to be vanquished, but as messengers carrying valuable information. Anger, it's telling you about a perceived injustice. Fear, it's highlighting a potential threat. Even love, in its various forms, is conveying important data about your values and needs. The key is to listen to these messengers without letting them hijack the control room of your mind. So, how do we cultivate this Stoic emotional intelligence? It starts with observation. The next time you feel a strong emotion, especially related to someone you're attached to, pause. Notice the physical sensations in your body. Observe the thoughts racing through your mind. But, and this is crucial, don't judge. Don't label the emotion as good or bad. Simply acknowledge its presence. This practice of mindful observation creates a space between stimulus and response, giving you the power to choose how you'll act, rather than simply reacting. It's in this space that true emotional detachment begins to take root. Let's talk triggers. You know, those sneaky little situations or events that set off an emotional firestorm within you. When it comes to emotional attachment, these triggers are like hidden landmines in your psyche, waiting to explode at the slightest touch. But here's the good news. Once you identify these triggers, you've got the power to diffuse them. Think back to the last time you felt a surge of intense emotion related to someone you're attached to. Maybe it was a pang of jealousy when they mentioned an ex, or a wave of anxiety when they didn't text back immediately. These moments are gold mines of information about your attachment patterns. Start keeping a mental, or better yet, written log of these instances. What exactly happened? What thoughts went through your mind? How did your body react? As you build this trigger inventory, patterns will start to emerge. You might notice that certain actions or words consistently set you off, or that specific situations reliably lead to emotional turmoil. This self-knowledge is powerful stuff. It allows you to anticipate potential trigger situations and prepare yourself mentally. More importantly, it helps you understand the underlying fears or insecurities fueling your attachment. Are you afraid of abandonment? Worried about not being good enough? By shining a light on these root causes, you can start to address them head-on, gradually loosening the grip of emotional attachment. Time to level up your emotional intelligence with a technique straight out of the Stoic playbook, supercharged with modern mindfulness practices. It's called emotion labeling, and it's about to become your secret weapon in the battle against overwhelming attachments. Here's how it works. Whenever you feel a strong emotion bubbling up, especially related to someone you're attached to, pause and give it a name. Sounds simple, right? But there's profound power in this simplicity. By labeling your emotions, you're activating the rational part of your brain, creating a bit of distance between you and the feeling. Instead of being swept away by a tidal wave of, "I can't stand this," you're observing, "Oh, I'm feeling anxious right now." This small shift can make a world of difference in how you respond to emotional triggers. To practice, start with basic emotion labels like angry, sad, or frustrated. As you get more adept, you can refine your labels to be more specific: disappointed, insecure, or overwhelmed. The key is to be accurate without overthinking it. And here's a pro tip: use "I'm noticing feeling X" rather than "I am X." This subtle distinction reinforces that you're not your emotions, you're the observer of them. With consistent practice, emotion labeling can help you navigate the stormy seas of attachment with greater calm and clarity, steering you towards the shores of Stoic detachment. Rule 3. The art of indifference. Let's clear the air right off the bat. When Stoics talk about Apatheia, they're not advocating for you to become an emotionless robot. No, we're diving into something far more nuanced and powerful. Apatheia, in Stoic philosophy, is about cultivating a state of mind that's free from emotional disturbance. Think of it as emotional equilibrium on steroids. The ancient Stoics viewed Apatheia as a cornerstone of the good life. It's not about suppressing or denying your emotions, but rather about not being enslaved by them. Imagine standing firm like a lighthouse amidst a stormy sea of feelings. You acknowledge the waves, but they don't knock you off balance. That's Apatheia in action. Now, when it comes to emotional detachment, Apatheia is your secret weapon. It allows you to care about someone deeply without your entire emotional well-being hinging on their actions or feelings towards you. You can love without desperately clinging, appreciate without demanding, and connect without losing yourself. It's about maintaining your inner tranquility regardless of external circumstances. By cultivating Apatheia, you're not building walls to keep others out. You're developing an unshakable core that allows you to engage with the world, and yes, with that special someone, from a place of strength and equanimity. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. When you hear Apatheia, you might think it sounds suspiciously like apathy. But trust me, these two concepts are as different as a lion and a house cat. While they might look similar from a distance, up close, it's a whole different story. Apathy is the absence of feeling or emotion. It's a state of indifference where you simply don't care about anything or anyone. Picture a teenager shrugging and mumbling whatever to every question. That's apathy in action. Apatheia, on the other hand, is about maintaining your emotional equilibrium in the face of life's ups and downs. It's not that you don't feel, it's that you don't let your feelings control you. Here's a practical example to drive home the difference. Let's say your romantic partner decides to end the relationship. Someone practicing apathy might not react at all, showing no signs of hurt or concern, but someone cultivating apatheia would acknowledge the pain, perhaps even feel it deeply, yet not allow it to derail their life or self-worth. They'd process the emotion, learn from the experience, and move forward with dignity and grace. Apatheia is about resilience, not numbness. It's about feeling the full spectrum of human emotions without being tossed around by them like a ship in a storm. All right, it's time to put apatheia into practice with a technique I call the pause and reflect method. This simple yet powerful tool can help you cultivate emotional equilibrium in your daily life, especially when it comes to those sticky situations involving emotional attachments. Here's how it works. Whenever you feel a strong emotion bubbling up, especially in relation to someone you're attached to, hit the pause button. Take a deep breath and create a momentary space between the trigger and your reaction. In this pause, ask yourself 3 key questions. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? And is this reaction helping or hurting me? This brief reflection allows you to step back from the emotional whirlwind and engage your rational mind. It's not about suppressing the emotion, but about understanding it and choosing how to respond. Maybe you realize your anger stems from fear of abandonment, or your anxiety is rooted in past experiences rather than the present moment. By shining the light of awareness on your emotional responses, you're taking the first step towards mastering them. Over time, this practice will help you build the muscle of apatheia, allowing you to navigate your attachments with greater clarity and composure. Remember, the goal isn't to become emotionless, but to become the master of your emotions rather than their slave. Rule 4. Embrace impermanence. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. These words, penned by Marcus Aurelius, encapsulate the Stoic principle of memento mori. Remember that you must die. Now, before you click away thinking this is too morbid, hear me out. This principle isn't about being pessimistic. It's about using the awareness of our mortality as a powerful tool for living fully and detaching from unnecessary emotional baggage. The Stoics viewed death not as something to be feared, but as a natural part of life's cycle. They understood that acknowledging the impermanence of all things, including our relationships and attachments, can paradoxically lead to a richer, more appreciative way of living. It's like watching a breathtaking sunset. Its fleeting nature makes it all the more beautiful. When it comes to emotional attachments, the memento mori perspective offers a sobering yet liberating lens. It reminds us that every relationship, no matter how intense or important it seems right now, is temporary. This isn't a reason for despair, but an invitation to appreciate what we have without clinging desperately to it. By keeping death in mind, we're prompted to ask ourselves, if this were my last day, would this emotional turmoil really matter? Often the answer is no, allowing us to loosen our grip on petty concerns and focus on what truly adds value to our lives. Let's get real for a moment. Applying memento mori to your relationships might sound like a fast track to becoming the most depressing person at the party. But stick with me, because this principle can actually transform your connections in profound and positive ways. It's not about constantly brooding over death, but about using the awareness of impermanence to deepen your appreciation and loosen unhealthy attachments. Consider this. If you truly internalized that each interaction with someone could be your last, how would it change your behavior? You'd probably be more present, more forgiving of minor annoyances, and less likely to leave important things unsaid. By keeping memento mori in mind, You're reminded to value the essence of your relationships rather than getting caught up in trivial conflicts or unrealistic expectations. This perspective is particularly powerful when it comes to emotional detachment. Instead of clinging desperately to a relationship or obsessing over its future, Memento Mori encourages you to appreciate it for what it is right now. It helps you understand that no person can be your everything forever, and that's okay. This realization can free you from the anxiety of trying to control outcomes or people. You learn to love openly, knowing that loss is inevitable, but choosing to engage fully anyway. It's a paradox. By accepting the temporary nature of all relationships, you become capable of deeper, more authentic connections. Ready to expand your mind and shrink your worries. Let's dive into a powerful visualization exercise I call the cosmic view. This technique, inspired by Marcus Aurelius's meditations, will help you internalize the Memento Mori principle and gain perspective on your emotional attachments. Find a quiet spot and close your eyes. Imagine yourself zooming out from your current location, rising above your city, your country, the Earth itself. Keep going until you're looking at our planet from space, a tiny blue marble in the vastness of the cosmos. Now visualize time speeding up. See civilizations rise and fall, mountains erode, continents shift. Zoom in on your own life, a brief flicker in the grand tapestry of time. From this cosmic perspective, consider your current emotional attachments. That person you can't stop thinking about, the relationship causing you anxiety. How significant do they appear now? This isn't to say your feelings don't matter, but rather to help you see them in a broader context. From up here, you can see that all things, good and bad, are temporary. Your attachments, your worries, even your life itself, are fleeting moments in the grand scheme of things. Let this realization wash over you, not as a source of despair, but as a liberating truth. As you slowly return to your present moment, carry this expanded perspective with you. Use it as a tool to loosen the grip of overwhelming emotions and to appreciate the precious, temporary nature of all your connections. Rule 5. Find contentment within. Imagine a state of being where your happiness isn't dependent on anyone or anything outside yourself. Sounds like a superpower, right? Well, the ancient Stoics had a word for this: eudaimonia. It's not just happiness, it's a deep, abiding sense of flourishing that comes from living in accordance with virtue and reason. Eudaimonia is the cornerstone of Stoic ethics, and it's your secret weapon in the quest for emotional detachment. Unlike the fleeting pleasure we get from external things, a compliment, a new gadget, or even the affection of others, eudaimonia is a state of well-being that's entirely within your control. It's about cultivating inner virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control, rather than chasing external validation or fleeting emotions. But here's the kicker. Embracing eudaimonia doesn't mean becoming a hermit or cutting off all emotional connections. Instead, it's about approaching relationships from a place of self-sufficiency. When you're not desperately seeking happiness or validation from others, you're free to engage with them more authentically. You can love deeply without the fear of loss, because your core contentment doesn't depend on their presence or approval. This is the ultimate form of emotional detachment, not a cold indifference, but a warm self-assurance that allows you to connect with others without losing yourself in the process. Let's face it, we're all addicted to likes, thumbs up, and the sweet, sweet dopamine hit of external validation. But this addiction is the kryptonite to emotional detachment. It's time to break free from the cycle of seeking approval from others and start building your self-esteem from the inside out. The first step is recognizing where you're giving away your power. Are you constantly checking your phone for messages? Do you base your mood on how many people liked your latest post? These are signs that you're outsourcing your self-worth. The Stoics would argue that true contentment comes from aligning your actions with your values, not from the fickle opinions of others. Start small. Next time you accomplish something, resist the urge to immediately share it on social media. Instead, take a moment to appreciate your own effort and growth. When making decisions, ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I'm seeking approval? Gradually, you'll find your inner voice growing stronger, drowning out the noise of external expectations. Remember, the goal isn't to stop caring about others altogether, but to build a core of self-sufficiency that allows you to engage with the world on your own terms. By breaking your dependency on external validation, you're not just practicing emotional detachment, you're reclaiming your personal power. Time to pull out that dusty notebook and transform it into a powerful tool for cultivating self-sufficiency. We're talking about the gratitude journal, but with a Stoic twist. This isn't your run-of-the-mill list 3 things you're thankful for exercise. No, we're diving deeper into the realm of self-reflection and inner contentment. Here's how it works. Every day, write down 1 thing you're grateful for that comes entirely from within you. It could be a character trait you're proud of, a decision you made that aligns with your values, or an internal resource you drew upon to face a challenge. The key is to focus on aspects of yourself that are under your control and not dependent on external circumstances or other people's actions. For example, instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my partner's love," you might write, "I'm grateful for my capacity to love deeply and authentically." See the difference? One places your happiness in someone else's hands, while the other recognizes your innate ability to experience profound emotions. By consistently practicing this exercise, you're training your mind to find contentment within yourself. You're building a reservoir of self-appreciation that can sustain you even when external sources of validation are scarce. This isn't about inflating your ego, but about recognizing your inherent worth and capabilities. Over time, this practice will strengthen your emotional independence, making it easier to detach from unhealthy attachments while still engaging fully with life. Rule 6. Question your thoughts and beliefs. Picture your mind as a courtroom. In this mental tribunal, reason is the judge, wielding the gavel of logic to evaluate the evidence presented by your emotions and impulses. This, in essence, is how the Stoics viewed the role of reason in our lives. They believed that by subjecting our thoughts and judgments to rational scrutiny, we could free ourselves from the tyranny of unchecked emotions and achieve true inner peace. But let's be clear, the Stoics weren't advocating for a cold, robotic existence devoid of feeling. Rather, they saw reason as a tool to understand and navigate our emotions more effectively. It's like having a wise mentor living in your head, always ready to offer a balanced perspective when your emotions threaten to run amok. When it comes to emotional detachment, reason becomes your superpower. It allows you to step back from the heat of the moment and ask critical questions. Is my interpretation of this situation accurate? Are my emotions proportionate to what's happening? What would a wise, impartial observer say about this? By consistently applying reason to your emotional experiences, especially those related to attachments, you create a buffer zone between stimulus and response. This space gives you the freedom to choose your reactions rather than being at the mercy of knee-jerk emotional responses. Remember, the goal isn't to suppress your feelings, but to engage with them in a way that promotes your well-being and aligns with your values. Let's put on our detective hats and investigate the crime scene of our irrational beliefs about attachment. These sneaky culprits often masquerade as unquestionable truths, whispering sweet nothings like, "I can't live without them," or, "If they leave, I'll be miserable forever." It's time to shine the harsh light of reason on these beliefs and see them for what they really are: cognitive distortions that keep us trapped in unhealthy attachments. Start by identifying your core beliefs about relationships and attachment. Write them down, no matter how embarrassing or irrational they might seem. Now channel your inner Socrates and start questioning these beliefs mercilessly. Is it really true that you can't be happy without this specific person? Haven't you survived and even thrived after past breakups? Is your worth really determined by someone else's opinion of you? As you challenge these beliefs, you'll likely notice that many of them crumble under scrutiny. They're often based on fear, past experiences, or societal conditioning rather than objective reality. The goal here isn't to convince yourself that relationships don't matter, but to recognize that your happiness and worth aren't contingent on any single person or relationship. By systematically dismantling these irrational beliefs, you're clearing the path for healthier, more balanced attachments. Remember, emotional detachment isn't about building walls. It's about building a strong foundation of self-worth that allows you to engage with others from a place of choice rather than desperate need. Time to channel your inner philosopher and engage in a mental sparring match with yourself. The Socratic method, named after the ancient Greek thinker Socrates, is a powerful tool for challenging your thoughts and beliefs. It's like playing chess with your own mind, always staying one step ahead of your cognitive biases. Here's how to apply this method to your attachments. Start by identifying a belief or emotion you're struggling with, like, "I'll be alone forever if this relationship ends." Now, put on your Socrates hat and start asking probing questions. What evidence do I have for this belief? Is this a fact or an assumption? What would I tell a friend who expressed this fear? Keep digging deeper with each answer, questioning your assumptions and looking for logical inconsistencies. The beauty of the Socratic method is that it doesn't just challenge your thoughts, it teaches you how to think more critically. As you practice this exercise regularly, you'll find yourself automatically questioning your knee-jerk emotional reactions. You're not trying to eliminate your feelings, but to understand them better and ensure they're based on sound reasoning. This process can be uncomfortable at first. After all, you're dismantling beliefs you've held onto for dear life. But stick with it. The more you engage in this cognitive workout, the stronger your rational mind becomes, and the easier it gets to maintain emotional detachment when it really counts. Rule 7. Prepare for loss. Buckle up, because we're about to take a trip to the dark side, but I promise it's for your own good. Enter premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of negative visualization. It's like mental weightlifting for your emotional resilience, and it's about to become your new best friend in the quest for detachment. Here's the gist. Regularly visualize losing the things or people you're most attached to. Sounds brutal, right? But hear me out. The Stoics believed that by imagining worst-case scenarios, we can reduce their emotional impact if they actually occur. It's like building up an immunity to life's potential hardships. But this isn't about wallowing in misery or becoming a pessimist. Instead, it's about appreciating what you have right now, while simultaneously preparing yourself for change. When you visualize losing someone you're attached to, you're not wishing for it to happen. You're simply acknowledging that it could happen, and in doing so, you're loosening the grip of fear and dependency. This practice helps you realize that while loss would be painful, you have the inner resources to survive and even thrive in its wake. By regularly facing your fears in this controlled way, you're building the emotional muscle to handle whatever life throws at you, all while deepening your appreciation for the present moment. Let's get personal and apply this Stoic power tool to your relationships. I know, visualizing the loss of someone you care about sounds about as fun as a root canal, but trust me, this exercise can transform your approach to attachments and fortify your emotional resilience. Start by choosing a relationship you're particularly attached to. Now, take a deep breath and imagine your life without this person. What would your daily routine look like? How would you cope with the challenges they usually help you face? Visualize yourself navigating this new reality, drawing on your inner strengths and support systems. Here's the key. As you do this, notice the emotions that arise. Don't judge them or push them away. Instead, acknowledge them as natural responses to loss. Now, shift your focus to gratitude. Remind yourself that right now, this person is still in your life. Can you appreciate them more deeply, knowing that your time together is finite? This practice isn't about becoming detached in the sense of not caring. It's about loving fully while holding lightly, recognizing that all relationships are temporary gifts, not permanent possessions. By regularly engaging in this visualization, you're not only preparing yourself for potential loss, but also enriching your current relationships with a profound sense of appreciation and presence. Ready to flex those mental muscles? Let's dive into a powerful exercise I call the what-if scenario. This isn't your average daydreaming session. It's a strategic mental workout designed to strengthen your emotional resilience and detachment skills. Here's how it works. Choose a what-if scenario related to your strongest attachment. For example, what if my partner decided to move across the country for their dream job? Now don't just skim the surface, really dive in. Imagine receiving the news, the conversations that would follow, the decisions you'd have to make. How would you feel? What challenges would you face? Most importantly, how would you adapt and move forward? As you work through this scenario, pay attention to your emotional responses. Are you feeling panic, anger, sadness? Acknowledge these feelings, but don't let them derail your thought process. Instead, focus on problem solving and personal growth. How could you use this situation as an opportunity for self-improvement? What new experiences or relationships might emerge from this change? By regularly engaging in this exercise, you're training your mind to approach potential losses with a problem-solving mindset rather than a victim mentality. You're building confidence in your ability to handle whatever life throws at you, which is the cornerstone of true emotional detachment. Remember, the goal isn't to become cold or unfeeling, but to develop the inner strength to love deeply without clinging desperately. Rule 8. Align your actions with your values. Imagine having an internal compass that always points you in the right direction, regardless of life's storms. That's exactly what the Stoics believed they had in the 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These aren't just lofty ideals, they're practical guidelines for living a fulfilling life and mastering emotional detachment. Let's break them down. Wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about discerning what's truly important and acting accordingly. Justice involves treating others fairly and contributing to society. Courage isn't fearlessness, it's doing what's right despite your fears. And temperance? It's all about moderation and self-control. Now you might be wondering, what do these virtues have to do with emotional detachment? Everything, my friend. By focusing on cultivating these virtues, you're shifting your attention from external factors you can't control, like other people's actions or feelings, to internal qualities you can develop. This shift is the essence of emotional detachment. When you're guided by these virtues, your self-worth isn't tied to any particular relationship or outcome. You can engage fully with others while maintaining your inner balance. It's like having an emotional shock absorber that helps you navigate the bumps and twists of relationships without losing your way. Remember, the goal isn't to become an unfeeling robot, but to build a strong core of values that allows you to love deeply without losing yourself. Let's get practical and apply these lofty virtues to the messy world of relationships. Imagine your love life as a choose-your-own-adventure book, but instead of flipping to random pages, you're using the 4 cardinal virtues as your guide. This is virtue-based decision-making, and it's about to revolutionize how you navigate your connections with others. Here's how it works. When faced with a relationship dilemma, instead of asking, "What will make me happy?" or "What does this person want?" try asking, "What would a wise, just, courageous, and temperate person do?" This shift in perspective can be game-changing. For example, wisdom might guide you to communicate openly rather than making assumptions. Justice could lead you to consider your partner's needs alongside your own. Courage might push you to have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. And temperance, it could help you respond thoughtfully to a conflict instead of reacting impulsively. By basing your decisions on these virtues, you're no longer at the mercy of fleeting emotions or external validation. You're acting from a place of inner strength and integrity. This doesn't mean you won't feel hurt or disappointed at times, but it does mean you'll have a solid foundation to fall back on. You're cultivating a form of emotional detachment that allows you to care deeply about others while maintaining your core values and sense of self. It's like having a relationship superpower, the ability to love fully without losing yourself in the process. Time to roll up your sleeves and get hands-on with your personal growth. Enter the Virtue Checklist, your new daily companion in the journey towards emotional detachment and Stoic wisdom. Think of it as a fitness tracker for your character, helping you flex those virtue muscles and build emotional resilience. Here's how to create your virtue checklist. Start with the 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Under each, list specific actions or behaviors that embody that virtue in your relationships. For wisdom, it might be reflected on my emotional reactions before acting. For justice, considered my partner's perspective in our disagreement. Courage could include expressed my true feelings despite fear of rejection. And for temperance, responded calmly to criticism instead of lashing out. Each day, review your checklist. Which virtues did you embody? Where did you fall short? This isn't about beating yourself up, but about bringing awareness to your actions and gradually aligning them with your values. As you consistently practice this, you'll notice a shift. Your self-worth becomes less dependent on others' opinions or the status of your relationships. You're building an internal locus of control, the cornerstone of true emotional detachment. Remember, the goal isn't to become detached from caring, but to care deeply while maintaining your inner stability. With regular use of this virtue checklist, you're not just surviving your relationships, you're thriving in them, guided by timeless wisdom. Rule 9. Understand without attaching. Contrary to popular belief, Stoicism isn't about becoming an emotionless robot. In fact, the Stoics had a lot to say about compassion, and their insights can be a game-changer for your journey towards emotional detachment. They viewed compassion not as a weakness, but as a strength, a way to connect with others without losing yourself in the process. The Stoic approach to compassion is rooted in the concept of cosmopolitanism, the idea that we're all part of a larger human family. Imagine looking down at Earth from space, seeing all of humanity as one interconnected whole. From this perspective, showing compassion isn't just nice, it's a rational response to our shared human experience. But here's the kicker. Stoic compassion doesn't mean getting swept away by others' emotions or taking on their problems as your own. It's about understanding and acknowledging their feelings without necessarily agreeing with their actions or being overwhelmed by their situation. Think of it as emotional support with healthy boundaries. You can offer a listening ear, kind words, or practical help without compromising your own well-being. This balanced approach to compassion is the secret source of emotional detachment. It allows you to engage deeply with others, to truly see and understand them while maintaining your inner stability. It's like being a sturdy lighthouse in a stormy sea, offering guidance and support without being shaken by the waves. Let's dive into the art of walking the tightrope between empathy and detachment. It's like being a skilled tightrope walker, balancing connection with others on one side and your emotional independence on the other. The goal: to understand deeply without getting entangled in others' emotional webs. Start by practicing active listening. When someone shares their feelings or problems, give them your full attention. But here's the crucial part. Imagine their emotions as a separate entity, like a cloud floating between you. You can see it, acknowledge it, even describe it, but you don't have to absorb it into yourself. This mental imagery helps create a healthy boundary between their emotions and your own. Another powerful technique is to cultivate curiosity. Instead of immediately reacting to someone's emotional state, ask questions to understand their perspective better. What led you to feel this way? Or, how does this situation look from your point of view? This approach allows you to engage empathetically while maintaining an observer's stance. Remember, the aim isn't to solve their problems or take on their emotions, but to understand and validate their experience. By developing this balanced empathy, you're building stronger, more authentic connections without sacrificing your emotional well-being. It's a superpower that allows you to be there for others while staying true to yourself. The essence of Stoic emotional detachment. Time to step into someone else's shoes, metaphorically of course. This perspective-taking exercise is like a mental gymnastics routine for your empathy muscles. It's designed to help you understand others deeply without getting emotionally entangled. Ready to flex those cognitive empathy skills? Here's how it works. Think of a recent interaction or conflict you had with someone. Now close your eyes and imagine you're that person. Really try to inhabit their mindset. What's their background? What pressures or fears might they be facing? How might they have interpreted your words or actions? Don't judge or try to justify, just observe and understand. Now, the crucial part. As you step back into your own perspective, maintain that understanding, but without taking on their emotions as your own. It's like watching a movie. You can understand and even feel for the characters without believing you are them. This exercise trains you to empathize without over-identifying, a key skill in emotional detachment. Practice this regularly, especially in challenging relationships. You'll find yourself becoming more understanding of others while maintaining your emotional independence. Remember, the goal isn't to agree with everyone or excuse harmful behavior. It's about developing a broader, more nuanced view of human interactions. By mastering this skill, you're not just improving your relationships, you're cultivating a Stoic level of emotional wisdom and resilience. Rule 10. Take responsibility for your reactions. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These words, penned by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, are about to become your new mantra in the quest for emotional detachment. Epictetus, born a slave and later freed, knew a thing or two about dealing with circumstances beyond his control. His wisdom: focus on what you can control, your perceptions and reactions. Imagine your mind as a fortress. External events are like arrows being shot at its walls. You can't stop the arrows from being fired, but you have absolute power over how your fortress responds. Will you let them breach your walls, or will you choose to deflect them? This is the essence of Epictetus's teaching on choice and perception. But don't mistake this for some kind of magical thinking. Epictetus wasn't suggesting that you can wish away pain or difficulty. Instead, he was pointing out a profound truth. Between any event and your reaction to it, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose your response. This isn't about suppressing emotions, but about recognizing that you're not at the mercy of your initial reactions. You can pause, evaluate, and consciously choose how to perceive and respond to any situation. By embracing this principle, you're taking the first step towards true emotional detachment, not as a cold, unfeeling state, but as a position of inner strength and resilience. Let's flip the script on how you view your attachments. Instead of seeing them as inevitable or beyond your control, it's time to recognize them for what they truly are: choices. This mental shift is like upgrading your emotional operating system. Suddenly, you're in the driver's seat of your feelings. Start by examining your current attachments, that person you can't stop thinking about, the relationship that consumes your emotional energy. Now, instead of saying, "I'm attached to them," try this: "I'm choosing to invest my emotions in this person, relationship." Feel the difference. It's subtle but powerful. You're no longer a passive victim of your feelings, but an active participant in your emotional life. This reframing isn't about dismissing your emotions or connections. It's about recognizing your agency in them. When you view attachment as a choice, you open up new possibilities. You can choose to maintain the attachment, but with awareness. Or you can choose to gradually detach, knowing it's within your power to do so. This perspective empowers you to evaluate your attachments more objectively. Are they serving your growth, aligning with your values? If not, you have the power to choose differently. Remember, emotional detachment isn't about becoming cold or unfeeling. It's about loving and connecting from a place of choice and inner strength, rather than need or habit. By reframing your attachments as choices, you're taking a giant leap towards emotional freedom and resilience. Ready to supercharge your decision-making skills when it comes to emotional attachments? Let me introduce you to the Choice Matrix, a powerful tool that'll help you navigate the complex terrain of your relationships with stoic clarity. Think of it as a GPS for your emotions, guiding you towards choices that align with your values and promote healthy detachment. Here's how it works. Draw a 2x2 grid on a piece of paper. Label the columns high emotional investment and low emotional investment. Label the rows aligns with values and doesn't align with values. Now think about a specific relationship or attachment you're grappling with. Where does it fall on this grid? If it's in the high emotional investment aligns with values quadrant, that's generally a green light. But if it's in the high emotional investment doesn't align with values area, it's time to reassess. The lower quadrants can help you identify relationships where you might need to increase engagement or where it might be healthiest to detach. This visual representation can bring clarity to your emotional landscape, making it easier to make conscious choices about where to invest your emotional energy. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all emotional investment, but to ensure that your attachments are intentional and aligned with your values. By regularly using this choice matrix, you're not just making better decisions, you're cultivating a Stoic approach to relationships, balancing meaningful connection with emotional independence. Rule 10 plus, adapt to life's flux. The only constant in life is change. This nugget of wisdom, attributed to the pre-Socratic philosopher Heraclitus, was later embraced by the Stoics as a fundamental truth of existence. Imagine life as a river. You can never step into the same water twice. This perspective isn't just philosophical musing, it's a powerful tool for cultivating emotional detachment. The Stoics took Heraclitus's idea and ran with it, developing a worldview that saw change not as something to be feared or resisted, but as the very essence of reality. They understood that our suffering often comes from our resistance to change, our desperate clinging to people, things, or situations that are inherently impermanent. But here's where it gets interesting. By fully embracing the inevitability of change, you can actually find a deep sense of peace and stability. It's like learning to surf instead of trying to hold back the ocean. When you accept that everything, your relationships, your emotions, your very self, is in a constant state of flux, you're no longer caught off guard by life's twists and turns. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. Instead, it's about developing a flexible resilience that allows you to flow with life's changes while maintaining your inner core. By internalizing this Stoic view of change, you're laying the groundwork for true emotional detachment, not as a form of disconnect, but as a way of engaging fully with life without being knocked off balance by its inevitable fluctuations. Let's take this Stoic wisdom about change and apply it directly to your emotional life. Imagine your emotions as waves in the ocean of your mind. Sometimes they're gentle ripples, other times they're towering tsunamis. The key to emotional detachment isn't trying to stop the waves, it's learning to surf them with grace and skill. Start by observing your emotional reactions to change, especially in your relationships. Do you tend to cling tightly when you sense a shift coming? Or do you pull away at the first sign of turbulence? Neither extreme is the goal here. Instead, aim for a middle path of flexible adaptability. When a relationship changes, and they all do, try to approach it with curiosity rather than fear or resistance. Practice reframing changes as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your emotional stability. Did your partner just get a job in another city? Instead of seeing it as a potential end to your relationship, view it as a chance to evolve your connection in new ways. By cultivating this adaptable mindset, you're not dismissing your emotions, but you are learning to hold them lightly. You're developing the ability to care deeply while also being ready to adjust your expectations and attachments as circumstances shift. This is the essence of Stoic emotional detachment, not a cold disconnection, but a warm, flexible engagement with life's ever-changing nature. Remember, the goal is to be like a tree that bends with the wind rather than breaking under its force. Ready to put your adaptability skills to the test? Welcome to the Comfort Zone Challenge, a practical exercise designed to flex your emotional resilience muscles and prepare you for life's inevitable changes. Think of it as a gym workout for your adaptability, building the strength you need to maintain emotional detachment in the face of life's curveballs. Here's how it works. Each week, commit to doing one thing that pushes you out of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be skydiving unless you want it to be. Start small. Try a new cuisine, strike up a conversation with a stranger, or take a different route to work. The key is to deliberately expose yourself to new experiences and the slight discomfort that comes with them. As you engage in these challenges, pay close attention to your emotional responses. Notice the initial discomfort, the urge to retreat to the familiar. Then, observe how these feelings evolve as you push through. You might find that the anticipation was worse than the actual experience, or discover unexpected joy in novelty. This practice isn't just about thrill-seeking, it's about training your mind to stay balanced in unfamiliar territory. By regularly stepping out of your comfort zone, you're building the emotional agility needed for true detachment. You're teaching yourself that you can handle change, that your well-being isn't dependent on maintaining the status quo. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate comfort altogether, but to expand your capacity to remain centered amidst life's constant flux. We've journeyed through the Stoic path to emotional detachment, equipping you with powerful tools to navigate life's relationships with resilience and wisdom. Remember, true detachment isn't about disconnection, but about engaging fully while maintaining inner stability. But your journey doesn't end here. Don't miss out on this crucial next step in your Stoic evolution. Check out this video and take your personal growth to the next level. Your future, wiser self will thank you. Until next time, stay Stoic.